Welcome to Money Talk with Tiff, a podcast where we discuss everything money from tips and tricks to current events. Follow me on my journey to become debt-free and meet other cool people along the way. I am your host, Tiffany Grant. Now let's talk money. Hey everyone, so welcome to another episode of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast. For this episode, I wanted to do something a little different because of the whole coronavirus outbreak, COVID-19, and all the lockdowns and everything that's going on. It kind of feels like the world has stopped, right? So I just wanted to make this episode about what you can do with your money, or everybody keeps asking me financially, what should I do? What should I prepare for? What's going on? The market's going down. I'm losing money. So I just wanted to do a quick episode just to ease some of those concerns and then to also talk about some to-dos, right? So first and foremost, I know the market is down. It's headlines everywhere. The S&P 500, the Dow, all of that is to like its 2008 level. So yeah, and really down like about 30% or so as of this recording for the year. So that's huge. A lot of people are worried about their retirement savings. They're worried about the investments. My thing is, when you invested for a reason. And typically when you invested, it was for the long term. So fortunately, people in their 20s, 30s, maybe even 40s, you have some time for your money to recover. Even if we look back at the 2008-2009 crisis, even though, things went down pretty much 40% at that time, if you look back to, let's say, last year, it had already made that up and then some. So just look at this current dip as just a dip. The market always recovers. Sometimes it's a few months and we don't even notice it. Sometimes it's a few years, but it will recover. So people that are 20s, 30s, 40s, you have time for your money to recover. So if you've been investing, keep investing. One good thing about this is dollar cost averaging. So that's when you keep investing incrementally, and whether or not the market goes down or up, your purchase price will go down or up, your cost basis. That's a better way to put it. And I'll have links to all of these vocabulary words in the show notes because I did do them for Wednesday Words of the Week. But I just wanted to let you all know that dollar cost averaging, your cost basis will start going down if you keep buying during this time of some of the same securities or mutual funds or ETFs that you already have. Just keep investing if that is what your long-term goal was. Another thing to keep in mind, the IRS has given taxpayers until July 15th to file and pay any taxes this year. So typically your taxes are due April 15th. They gave everybody a 90-day grace period. So if you need to take advantage of that, please do. They did it for a reason. A lot of people are going to be struggling right now. So the last thing they want you to worry about is your taxes. But by all means, if you can file and you can pay and do all of that, do it as soon as you can, but they did give you until July 15th. Another thing that made headlines was Trump. He went ahead and made it so that any federal student loan interest stops accruing for right now. He didn't have a time limit on when that's going to end, but I say take advantage of that. Now, that doesn't mean that you will not have any student loan payments. You will. It's just that your student loan payment now goes towards principal instead of interest and principal. So this would be a good time to get those student loans knocked down if you have some and you can afford to do that. I highly recommend getting those knocked down because this has never happened before where interest is no longer accruing on federal student loans. So please take advantage. I know I have plans on taking advantage because this is a good way to get that principal knocked down. A lot I've been telling a lot of people to kind of hold off on big purchases right now because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going on. So I've had somebody ask me, should I buy a car right now? My response is just hold off a little bit and see what's going to happen because you don't know if you're going to need that money. And like I said, it depends case by case, person by person, but generally I kind of err on the conservative side actually, nothing like this has ever happened before. So I just warn people to please be conscious and mindful of how you're spending your money right now. Along with that, go ahead if your emergency fund is something that you've been putting off for quite some time, go ahead and make sure that is fully funded. And when I say fully funded, I mean at least at the bare minimum 3 months worth of expenses saved up. I like to see 6 months, sometimes even 12 months, depending on the career choice that somebody has made. But generally speaking, 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up in the bank because you never know what's going to happen. Unemployment is going to start skyrocketing because businesses are having to shut down due to these stay-at-home orders, due to these curfews, things like that. So it's just going to be a ripple effect. And I just want to make sure all of my listeners are prepared. If anything happens, whether your job is essential or non-essential, please make sure that you have that emergency fund saved up. It's super important. Another thing I've been getting questions about is, should I refinance? Well, my response to that is always, it depends. Right now we're seeing unprecedented interest rates. The Federal Reserve had knocked the Fed funds rate all the way down to 0%, and it keeps teetering between 0% and 0.25%. So right now you're seeing interest rates that are super low, which is good if you plan on borrowing money, but it's bad if you like saving money, right? Because once the interest rates go down, that affects both saving and borrowing. So just keep that in mind. But I would say if your house is, I would say about maybe 4.5% and higher, you're almost guaranteed to get a better rate right now. I've seen rates as low as like 3.25, if I'm not mistaken. That's the lowest I've heard of, but there are some pretty low interest rates right now. Currently, I'm at a 4.25, and I think I feel pretty safe there. I'm not going to refinance at this time because I want to, keeping the same interest rate that I have. It's not going to justify going through all of the closing and the paperwork and all that stuff for like a 0.5% decrease in interest rate. To me, it's not worth it. Now, if it's like 1% or better that you're going to save, it may be worth looking into or discussing with your financial advisor. But I highly recommend that you all definitely don't take any big leaps right now unless you're fully prepared to do that. So just some tips that I have learned just in this quarantine phase that the world is going through. I've learned that I do have food in the house. Like all this time where I'm like, oh, I don't have nothing to eat. Let me go out and get some fast food. This is making me realize that I really do have food here, and we have been eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the house, and I don't know where all this food came from. No. But I just wanted to stress how important it is to make sure that you keep your food stores and make sure that you're utilizing them during this time, because like I said, a lot of places are doing stay-at-home orders where you can't go out to eat anymore. So definitely keep that in mind. I will say this. I am trying to make sure that me and my family are fully prepared. We started gardens, which is another thing that has come out of this. I was going to make a blog post about this, but I think it's worth saying here. There has been some positive things that have come out of this pandemic. So one of those things is we're getting back to basics, right? So I've been spending way more time with my boys because now I have to homeschool since school is shut down, and just watching them learn, being able to teach them what I want to teach them and showing them things that, they might not get in school. So such as, we have a fish tank and we saw the circle of life. We saw a fish die. We saw a crab and a shrimp eat it. These are things that they're not going to get in school. And also going back to our garden, we started a little garden in our backyard, and a lot of the stuff when they were going to school, we would never do. So I'm glad that I have that extra time and just to reconnect with my family. Also, I made bread the other day. And I haven't made bread in years. I used to make it all the time. But just going back to being simple and making sure that home is being taken care of and I'm able to take care of my boys and things like that, it just feels good. So even though this seems like a punishment, there are some good things that are coming out of this. I've seen a lot of things. We've been outside more than we usually do. We've been enjoying the sun and playing and staying outside like all day. And I never did that before, ever. So there's just a lot of things to be grateful for during this time. And so I challenge you to think about things that have happened during this time that were good, because in every circumstance, in every trial, and every tribulation, there's always going to be something good that comes out of it. It may not seem like it is at the time, but I can guarantee you almost every time you've gone through something good has come out of that. So instead of being bogged down with all the bad news, people talking about, all of the cases and all of the deaths and the worldwide epidemic and all this and all of that, I challenge you to just focus on what makes you happy, focus on what brings you joy. And, the world's not going to stop. True. But you can make the best out of the situation. So anyway, I'll stop being a motivational speaker. But I just wanted to share with you some of those tips that I found during the coronavirus pandemic. And I hope that you find this episode helpful. Like I said, I was thinking about writing a blog post. I probably still will, just going into more depth with some of these topics. But definitely stay happy, stay focused, keep focusing on your money, keep focusing on your health, and the rest will follow. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Money Talk with Tiff podcast. For free resources and materials, head over to moneytalkwitht.com. And while you're there, why not sign up for our newsletter so you'll never miss an episode? Talk to you soon.